Coming up next is a panel on James Baldwin's literary legacy. Herb Boyd is going to be moderating it. He's the author of Baldwin's Harlem, a biography of James Baldwin. Joining him on the panel, Quincy Troop, author of James Baldwin, The Legacy, Amiri Baraka, who is an author and activist, S. Pearl Sharp, author and filmmaker, and one of her books is called Black Women for Beginners. And Cora Daniels of Essence Magazine, author of Black Power, Inc. and Ghetto Nation, is also on the panel.
S. Pearl Sharp, to my immediate right. So it's as a filmmaker and as a poet that I invited her to join me, because one of the things about James Baldwin was his connection with Hollywood, you know.
When you talk about Hollywood, not the location, but the industry, the entity of Hollywood, that you have to be aware, if you're trying to step into that area, that what they do there is create illusion. 24 hours a day, they create illusion, and then they market it to the rest of the world. So for Baldwin, you have the poster child for absolute truth meets Illusion Incorporated. And that's kind of was his story there. Out of all of Baldwin's work and his major novels, only two of his novels have been translated to film, only one of those done here in the United States. So here we have this major figure who has these very controversial, very powerful pieces that we're still reading, that are still being used as textbooks and study for writers, that have not been translated to film. He often was heard to say that Giovanni's Room was one of his favorite pieces. However, he spent much more time trying to get Another Country translated to film. And Another Country was an extremely controversial novel about a series of interracial and bisexual couplings and relationships. It had brought on obscenity charges. It was banned in places. It's still banned in some places. And so there were a couple of times that he tried to get that produced. He was asked to come to Hollywood to write a script on Malcolm X. He had misgivings from the beginning. He felt very cynical about it because he knew that the people in control would probably not be on the same page that he was on, and recognizing what the community would want. And so I had this little clip that was in Variety magazine about it, and it said, let me get the right clip here. Agent Robert Lance, who also handles Mike Nichols, is meeting James Baldwin, his client, in Hollywood this week in connection with the Malcolm X film. Baldwin has been outspoken against some of the Negro racial extremists. Hence, his handling of the Malcolm X script poses an obvious question. Current Hollywood meeting will concern itself with casting, etc., depending upon the status of the screenplay. So this is in Variety, which is the largest Bible of the industry. It comes out every day. This is what everybody reads to keep up with what's happening in the industry. And they have kind of put this negative aura around the project because of the political connections of Baldwin. They're not talking about the writing yet. They're just dealing with his relationship with the community and things that have been happening in the civil rights movement. And so from that, he goes on to have this experience. He finds out, he intercepts a memo during the production. And it's a very long story. I'm just trying to condense it. And the memo says that the person that has been assigned to work with him should be instructed to make sure that Baldwin knows that Malcolm's basic story is that he was mistreated by white people early in his life and by a lot of black people later in his life. And that his trip to Mecca has absolutely no political or social ramifications. The things got so bad that finally Baldwin took his ball and went home. He took his script, he said, I'm leaving, and the script was published in a book called One Day When I Was Lost. And I can only assume that to avoid any contractual problems with the studio and everything, when you open that book, there's no introduction, there are no notes, you just open it, page one of the script. You get to the end page in the script, back cover of book. That's it. It is still in print. Please get it. Yeah. One Day When I Was Lost. It's a James Baldwin script on Malcolm X, and you will meet Malcolm X in a different way than perhaps in any other way. And if we have time in the question and answer, I'll talk a little bit about the connection between Baldwin's script and a second attempt to do the Malcolm X film and then the Spike Lee film, because they are all connected. Baldwin wanted Ruby Dee and Ossie to play Malcolm's parents. And at that time, Sidney Poitier was connected to Columbia Studios, and so the studio assumed, since this was for Columbia, that Sidney would play Malcolm. And Baldwin said, it's either him or me.
Well, actually, he was upset because they had selected Charlton Heston to play Malcolm. Remember?
Yeah.
They had Charlton Heston. And he said, no, 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 Billy D. Williams. He wanted Billy D. Williams, you know. That's good in terms of getting his Hollywood, getting the treatment, you might say, and going to Hollywood.
Yeah.
And maybe later on we can return and pick up a little bit on Arnold, his relationship with Arnold Pearl, and how Spike Lee, you know, scavenged, cannibalized parts of One Day When I Was Lost, okay? Thank you, Pearl Sharp, y'all. Okay. It's Pearl.